Let's look at some best practices for malware scanning on a Windows 11 computer, and this also works for Windows 10 and previous versions as well, although the interface does look a little bit different. If you're using a third-party application, even though the interface will look different there as well, the same basic types of controls are still going to be there. So in the search box, I'm going to type in Windows Defender, and I'll choose Virus and Threat Protection. And you can also just type in virus and threat detection. Either one will work fine. Now, if we take a look under current threats, there is a quick scan option. So if the user thinks it's possible they may have a virus, you can direct them to this quick scan. The quick scan doesn't take very long, and it scans all the most likely places where there's going to be any type of virus. And after about a minute or so, it should let us know if there's any type of issue, and you can cancel if you'd like as well. Now, if you'd like, you can click on Protection History to see the history of any previous scans. And then I'm also going to check the virus and threat protection settings as well. If you see the virus and threat protection turned off or grayed out, it's possible that a really good virus that had gotten onto that particular computer had somehow disabled the virus settings or the anti-malware settings. Malware is sort of an umbrella term that we choose to use for not just viruses, but for worms and for many other types of infections, spyware, things like that, Trojan horses. They're not all just considered viruses. However, they are all considered malware. But sometimes we use interchangeably virus and malware when we talk about these types of threats. So an antivirus is really an anti-malware protection because it covers all those types of threats. And good news, it says no new threats were found, as you see in the lower right-hand corner. So I have no problems there. I'm going to click on Scan Options, and here you can see the default is to run a quick scan when I clicked on it, but you can also choose to run a full scan. A full scan is going to take much longer than a quick scan, so be sure that the client understands that they're probably not going to be able to use their computer for about 30 minutes because it'll just be running too slowly. You can also choose a custom scan, which allows you to scan specific locations rather than the entire hard drive. And then you can choose to do an offline scan. And what's going to happen here is it's going to restart the computer and it's going to run a scan with the operating system offline. So that way it can run the antivirus or the anti-malware before the virus or malware has a chance to load itself. If you have certain types of threats, such as utilities that are showing up as viruses or malware, then you can go ahead and choose to allow them. I'm going to click on Protection History, and here we have a couple of options to sign in with Microsoft for enhanced security and other benefits, as well as setting up OneDrive for file recovery in case of a ransomware attack. A ransomware attack happens when your files get encrypted. And by adding OneDrive for additional recovery options, you should be able to recover from a ransomware attack if it encrypts your files on your computer. Then you can just restore from your OneDrive files online that are not encrypted. I'm going to go back to the virus and threat protection settings area and take a look at manage settings. Here we have real-time protection, cloud delivered, automatic sample submission, and these are all turned on by default. What real-time protection does is it not only allows you to scan your computer manually, as I had just done at the beginning of this video, but it also will scan any files as you open them. So let's say, for instance, you open a Word document or Excel document. It's going to scan those files as well. And that's because a lot of times you open up those files from servers, from other locations, and those locations may be infected and they may not even realize it. So you'll need to leave real-time protection on in most cases. Now, in some cases, you can turn it off specifically for certain file and folder locations on your computer or on the network if you know they're not going to be infected. And by leaving real-time protection turned on for everything, it just slows things down. That's not as big of an issue as it once was, but it still can be a problem. Cloud delivered protection is another option, and again, it's turned on by default. And it's going to provide increased and faster protection, as you see here in the explanation, by getting cloud-delivered antivirus or anti-malware signatures to kill off any viruses. And it also allows for automatic sample submission. So if there's a new virus or new malware that shows up, it will automatically send it off to Microsoft to create an antivirus, anti-malware signature. And you can choose to manually submit those files as well. And that opens up a web page to do so. Here you have a couple of options at the bottom for keeping unfriendly or unauthorized applications from making any security changes to your folders. You can also choose to exclude specific files and folders after putting in your administrator username and password to add those exclusions to be able to not be scanned. And that's because you know that there's not going to be an issue with those, or there may be a file in there that's going to be incorrectly chosen as a virus file when it's really not. Another area I like to set up is your ransomware protection. Ransomware protection will keep specific files and folders from being encrypted. And that's because ransomware is really the biggest threat to a computer network, because entire servers can be encrypted and then held for ransom for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Once you turn on this ransomware protection, you can choose which protected folders to add in. Now, by default, you can see the documents folder is going to be protected. You're going to see pictures, videos, and things like that. You can also add in additional protected folders as you like. So I'll choose this PC, and then I'm going to add in my scripts folders, for instance. And now it's also being protected from being encrypted with ransomware. One of the downsides to this type of thing is if you are using an encryption program that's a third party, for instance, then it's possible you may not be able to use it if it's set up as a protected folder. Removing malware and setting up client computers to keep ransomware away is crucial to the security of a company and their data.